Hi everybody. Upon a thrilling Giro d'Italia, with a finale which will be talked about for a very long time, we're up for our next treat, the Critérium du Dauphiné, which starts this Sunday, June the 8th, and can be considered one of the main preparatory one-week stage races for the Tour de France. As usual, the Critérium du Dauphiné runs over 8 stages, good for a total of nearly 1200 kilometers of racing. Stage 1 is nearly 200k long, featuring roughly 2300 meters of elevation gain. Everybody is still fresh here, and I see the fast guys such as Milan, Fitti and Janier sprinting for the win. Despite of the Côte de Buffon in the finale, at 9% it's steep, yet the steep bit is only 400 meters long. If it's a hard day of racing, I could also see this one going to a rider a la Axel Laurence, Fred Wright or Mathieu van der Poel. Stage 2 is a 205k long stage with 2800 meters of elevation gain. As on yesterday's stage, it's a hilly parcours, and this one to me also looks like a great stage for riders a la Axel Laurence, Wright, Stewart and Janier. Stage 3 is another long and hilly stage, 207k this time around, good for just over 3000 meters of climbing. This stage has breakaway written all over it. The first 18k going uphill should allow for a strong break to form, and in the finale the Côte du Château Jaune presents a nice launching board for the punchy riders, given that the 20k to the finish are also accidented and hilly. I really like hilly for this one. Just like last year, we get an individual time trial on stage 4, this one being only half as long though. Evenepoel time. Stage 5 is another hilly stage, with the main elevation gain sitting in the second half of the stage. It never gets steep though, and in my opinion, this is the best stage for Milan. From stage 6 then, things get serious, a 126k short mountain stage good for nearly 2500 meters of climbing, presenting the riders with a mountaintop finish. The finish climb to Combloux runs over roughly 8k, with a double-digit kilometer towards the start and 2 additional steep kilometers towards the finish. Vingegaard will have sweet memories of this spot, given he won the stage 16 ITT in the 2023 Tour de France here, ahead of Pogačar and Van Aert. I personally would not be surprised to see the 3 main protagonists for this race launching on that initial steep kilometer. Stage 7 is a brutal mountain stage featuring a mountaintop finish, the Queen stage of this year's Dauphiné. The stage features 3 hor category climbs, good for 4,815 meters of climbing in this 132k short stage. In a Grand Tour, I would dare calling this for the break, yet in the Dauphiné, with only limited stages to make the actual difference, this is full on GC time in my book, and I expect Pogačar to take his second stage win here. The stage starts with the mythical Col de la Madeleine, 25k at 6% average. From there, the riders go straight into the Col de la Croix de Fer, another 22k giant at 7% average. The gradients on these 2 first climbs are quite deceiving though, given that both climbs are quite irregular, featuring flatter sections along with kilometers in the double digits. The finish climb to Valmenier is more regular and runs over 16k at 6.7% average. Depending on the race situation going into this final stage of the 2025 Critérium du Dauphiné, I'm not excluding this one to go to the break, with the GC battle behind. The stage features an uphill altimetry throughout the day to end atop the first category climb to Val Cenis. Pre-race, I'm calling this one for Bardet. So to summarize, without knowing the actual race situation, we have 1 individual time trial, 1 or 2 versatile sprint stages, 2 or 3 hilly break stages, and 3 mountaintop finishes, out of which I expect at least 2 to go to the GC man. Here's an overview of the winners of the final 10 editions, with Ineos and Visma Lease Bike being the dominant forces. In this period, Froome, Vogelsang and Roglic managed to win the race twice. Also note that in 4 out of these 10 editions, the winner of the Dauphiné went on to win the Tour de France in the same year. Froome in 2015 and 16, and in 2013 before that, G in 2018 and Vingegaard in 2023. We have only 1 former winner lining up here, which is Vingegaard, who won the race back in 23. Bardet, Buchmann, Martin, Lutsenko and Jorgensen have all been on the podium here. And that's right, this is a race Pogačar doesn't have on his palmarès yet. Here's the betting odds at the time of recording, and not surprisingly, Pogačar is the outright favorite for this race, with Vingegaard in second and Evenepoel in third. And then here's the riders to watch in my book. Starting with Remco Evenepoel at Soudal Quickstep, who keeps on building on the way back from his winter crash. The basis is still there, winning the Brabantse Pijl and third in the Amstel Gold Race at the start of the season. In Normandy, he rode solidly, yet was still missing some form on the climbing stage to Thionville. Schachmann is another rider to watch on this team, third in the Basque Country behind Almeida and Mas. Valentin Paré-Peintre on his end also started the season strongly in Oman, yet has been fairly invisible since. At Ineos, look for Axel Laurence and Sheffield in the hilly stages and Carlos Rodriguez on GC, 16 Romandy early May. And based on what we've seen so far this season, I expect to see a lot of Tobias Vos in the climbing breakaways. At UAE, we get all riders on the long list for the upcoming Tour de France. Obviously, Pogačar is the man to watch. And at Visma Lease Bike, we're looking at the Vingegaard-Jurgensen tandem. Vingegaard is a bit of a question mark, he just hasn't been racing much. The last time we saw him in action was mid-March on stage 5 of Paris-Nice, where he crashed and didn't start stage 6 as a result, with Jurgensen going on to win the race. At Bahrain Victorious, it looks like they'll be shooting for GC with Lenny Martinez, who's been growing into this season. 24th in Paris-Nice, 5th in Catalonia and 2nd in Romandy. Besides him, also keep an eye on Haig and Buitrago. For EF, I'm not seeing them on GC, yet you can always ride down Healy for a stage win. At Red Bull Bora, Florian Lipowitz is the rider to watch for GC, 2nd to Jurgensen in Paris-Nice and 4th in the Basque Country. Red Bull Bora also has a team here that can compete in the hilly stages with Fischer Black and Van Gils, and Fitti when it comes to a versatile sprint. At Movistar, Mas is the rider to watch on GC, 3rd in Catalonia and 2nd in the Basque Country. At Groupama, Guillaume Martin will be riding for a top 10 on GC here, and Penouet seems their best shot at a stage win in one of the hilly stages, where fast legs can make the difference at the finish. On this Astana lineup, Tejada and Velasco have looked the most consistent so far this season, especially Velasco has impressed me during the Basque Country, which he ended in P8. Dunbar at Jaiko Alula will most likely aim for GC here, yet it has to be said that his results this year have not been very impressive. At Trek, it will be interesting to see how far Milan gets in the opening hilly stages. At Picnic Postenel, we're seeing the same duo as on the Giro, Bardet and Poel, with this last one just falling out of the top 10 on the recently concluded Giro d'Italia. Not expecting too much from Arkea and Tudor here, even though Venturini and Trentin can be ruled out for the opening hilly stages. Also at Cofidis, I'm not seeing much GC potential, yet with riders like Buchmann, Teuns and Thomas, I certainly see potential for the breakaways. At Total Energy, based on what we've seen so far this season, I'm expecting most from Janier, either from the breakaway or when there's a sprint finish. Then, big surprise at Alpecin de Koning, with Mathieu van der Poel already lining up, seemingly not having too much trouble from the wrist injury he suffered following an over-the-handlebar crash in the Novo Meste XC mountain bike race. Initially, there was fear for his Tour participation, yet with him already lining up here, that worry seemed to be unfounded. Then, I'm not sure what to expect of this Intermarché team, even though I have to say I'd love to see Hugo Page back to his breakthrough form. Decathlon and G2R has a bunch of strong riders lining up here, whom all had a solid season so far. Tronchon, 5th on GC in the Tour Down Under at the start of the season, and with solid results in recent French one-day races. Also, Berthet had a running start to the season with the 2nd position in the Ruta del Sol and some more solid results in some French one-day races in the month of April. Youngster Sexas, who rode a solid Tour of the Alps, and Aurélien Paré-Peintre. They all don't really stand a chance on GC in my book, so I hope to see them all in action in the fight for stage wins. Jake Stewart in the hilly stages looks like the best shot at stage victory at Premier Tech, and finally Johannesson on GC and Kort in the hilly stages for Uno X. Pogačar is my only 4-star favorite for this race. Vingegaard and Jorgensen each get 3 stars, Evenepoel, Mas and Lipowitz get 2 stars, Carlos Rodriguez, Martinez, Schachmann and Poel each get 1 star. In terms of podium prediction, I'm going with a Pogačar win ahead of Vingegaard and Mas. No need to mention that I hope from the bottom of my heart that Evenepoel will prove me wrong. Enjoy the racing and see you next week for my Tour de Suisse preview.